Hello, listeners. This podcast is about the community and the ideas all around northern Colorado. However, I was recently spending some time in my homeland of Tulsa, Oklahoma for the holidays, and I got the chance to feature some of my close friends on the podcast. Northern Colorado contains a handful of state universities and multiple community colleges. Today's guest is a security officer at the University of Tulsa, located in the city of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Previously, he was a security officer for a hospital. He is a brother of mine from another mother. Now, I know that phrase is overused, but trust me, it applies. I have known today's guest since I was 6 years old, and we have been inseparable friends since. It is with great honor and privilege I bring to you Kody Ogle.
Yeah. Do you always have your headphones in?
Yep.
For even when you interview strangers?
Yeah.
Just to keep an eye on the levels?
Right, so it allows me to get a better feel on it, and I can hear things in the environment that I might need to interact with.
So like a mic.
Oh yeah, like that's very loud. Yeah, and I warn people, actually.
You do, every episode, and people still are like...
Oh, with the table.
Yeah.
Well, I warn people with the headphones.
Oh.
As I'm putting headphones on, I always make a joke, like, no, I'm not listening to Beaver. I say someone new every time. And I just tell them, I'm actually listening to you. It's just so that I can hear the levels. And I also feel like with the headphones, it brings me in. It makes me more present.
I can see that.
Can you?
Do you always dress up?
No. I go in regular clothes.
That's good.
Sometimes I don't wear some of my shirts that might be misconstrued as strange. I don't know. I don't put it on the front. I just show up, get to it.
That's good.
A lot of people, I would assume... I am very curious what people think about doing the show before I show up and what they expect and what they think. And a lot of people who come on the show have never listened, which surprises me. Like, I feel like if I was about to be on a podcast, I'd at least listen to one episode just so I kind of knew who I was getting involved with and stuff.
Like, make sure it wasn't something really bizarre and weird that you don't want to be a part of for sure.
Like the Eric Andre show. I read an interview with him.
Oh, yeah.
And, yeah, and a lot of people end up on that show because they don't check it. They don't even Google him. They don't even see what it is. And if they would, they'd know what to expect. Mm-hmm. But they think it's going to be like a legit...
I'm kind of glad that they don't, actually.
The show is amazing.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. I need to watch the newest
season.
It's in season 4 now, isn't it?
Right, yep. It's on Hulu.
First season or two, that they were like...
Nobody knew
who it was, but now it's like, yeah, people have got to know at this point, for the most part, you would think.
Yeah, well,
I bet enough agents have been fired because of scheduling Eric Andre that, like, in the community of agents, they're like, don't schedule your people for Eric Andre, they'll fire you.
Yeah. Well, everyone on season 4, like, nobody knew what was going on. Nobody knew what was happening.
Really?
I mean, most.
Even in season 4?
Most. You are knocking the table a lot, by the way.
I'm going to have to put my hands in my pants so I can keep track of it.
We are leaving that in there. If you have not seen Eric Andre, I will warn you, whatever you think you're about to see is not what you're about to witness when you turn it on Hulu.
You should definitely watch it. Don't look it up. Don't even find out what it is. Just watch it. It's amazing.
Just browse the seasons, look for a celebrity that you know, and start the episode.
Yeah. So are we doing this?
We've already started.
Okay. Well, usually you introduce people, and that's like the start.
Yeah. All right, if you want an official start because you think you're a big celebrity,
that's getting edited out, isn't it?
We're going to
no.
All right, I sit here in my Maja's home with Sir Kody Ogle, who is a University of Tulsa campus security officer. How's that?
Officer.
Does that work?
I'm actually technically, that's good. I'm not a sir. I haven't actually been knighted.
Okay.
By the,
well, you have in my mind.
By the queen of the University of Tulsa.
Is there a queen of the University of Tulsa?
The closest thing, I guess, would be the president's wife, probably.
Okay, because the president is not female currently at TU.
No. I don't know if they've ever had a female president, actually.
Do they have a president?
I don't think so.
Do they have a president's house at TU, like on the campus?
No, it's not on campus.
Have you ever thought that was strange?
What? That it's off campus?
Well, there's a thing called a president's house. I mean, I guess we have the White House, but university presidents all moving in and living in the same house in succession after one another?
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that strange?
They don't all do that. This one, President Clancy has. But there have been some presidents that didn't live on the Skelly house.
So
the president's house is referred to as the Skelly house.
Why?
It's just the Skelly house. I don't know.
You need to be an informed citizen.
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, I've always thought that was strange. Like, I've seen houses on a campus or, like, right next to it, and I ask, what is that? And someone says, oh, that's the president's house. I'm like, the president of the university lives there in this weird...
Roger States is right on campus, right on the eastern boundary of campus, and he lives there as far as I know.
Yeah. So if they don't live in it, these houses just remain empty.
Well, I think that historically, the president living, like having a house that you don't have to pay for but is nice on campus is like one of the perks of being a president. For maybe when it didn't pay, I guess. Although you would think the president, regardless of the era of history, would pay pretty well. But it's probably one of the perks is just having the house. The house is actually a registered historical landmark in Tulsa. So it's kept up no matter whether they're living there or not. And I think the first floor is basically a showroom. It's like a show house. They have art and furniture that are antiques and stuff from early in Tulsa's history.
And then they live upstairs?
Yeah. They live upstairs, and then there's a basement that they live into.
That is a strange existence.
Oh, yeah. It's nice. I've been inside the house. It's really super nice. Yeah. I love the basement.
Well, and another thing is, like, what if you, as president of a university, you upset a lot of people with some things that you say or do? Aren't you worried that everyone automatically knows where you live? Or is that part of being a public official?
That's part of being I think that just goes with the territory. I mean, and the house is in a pretty nice area of town. Security goes by the house quite a bit. Hopefully, President Clancy's not worried about his personal safety. If he is, we're not doing a very good job.
Being at TU in campus security. Well, first, for the listeners, how long have you been there?
I've been there for about a year. Last November, the end of last November was my hire date, so I just passed it.
And how many arrests have you...
Well, technically...
How many people have you got in trouble, Sir Ogle? That's what I'm going to ask you.
Have I gotten into trouble?
No, how many people have you ruined their lives?
Oh, my gosh.
With your authority and scrutiny?
Probably haven't ruined anybody's life at this point. Always on the lookout.
How many times have you been a killjoy?
Oh,
Tulsa
definitely
University?
Plenty of times. There's been a few times. I mean, it just goes with the, universities. It goes with the territory.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to have a good time and wants to party and drink and all this and that. And TU is a wet campus, so as long as you're 21, you can have alcohol and drink. But
in any of the residence halls?
Yeah, no, the residence halls. I think. Well, yeah, if you're 21, you can, but none of them. Nobody who's 21 lives in a residence hall. They all live in the apartments, basically.
Right. Some do.
There's a few, very few.
Because when I was an RA at OSU, I had like someone in their late 30s living on my floor.
That's crazy.
It was interesting.
The oldest one I've seen was a transfer student who was living in the dorms. Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure it was just because he was a transfer student. Maybe he didn't know the apartments were available or something. Anybody above a sophomore practically does not live in the dorms.
Yeah, maybe they just want to be around the excitement of the freshmen and sophomores.
Oh, yeah. Maybe he wants to have to leave the building at 3 in the morning for a fire drill because somebody set their popcorn bag on fire in the microwave. They have to evacuate the building.
That happened?
Yeah. Vaping will set off a fire alarm. And they have several times.
So this is something that you've been dealing with a lot already.
Yeah, people set off bug bombs in their apartments. There was in the female dormitory, some girls set off a bug bomb that was meant for a room basically like 5 times the size of her room. And so it set off the fire alarm. And then when we went in there...
Wait, is it dispensing fumes?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I guess I don't know what a bug bomb is or how it works.
It basically just kills bugs. I mean, it's like an airborne kind of pesticide that you're supposed to...
It's like a huge smoke grenade?
There's no smoke. It's colorless. And It's not odorless, though. So we went to this room because the fire alarm was going off, and the fire panel tells us where the alert's coming from. And we go into this room, and everybody starts to cough, like, almost immediately when we go in. And we're like, what's going on? Like, there's no smoke, but you can tell something's wrong because your lungs and your throat start to... And then we see the bug bomb, and we're like, oh, God. So we try to open the window real quick and then run out of the room. But the crazy thing is they know, well, they're supposed to know. Obviously, you're not supposed to do that in the dorms. I would think that would be pretty common sense, and it's in the student contract, but I guess they didn't know. They didn't cover their food either. You're supposed to cover your food when you set off a bomb like that because it's getting all over the furniture and everything else. Their food was uncovered. I was like...
That's risky.
We told the RA, you should probably tell them when they come back to throw all their food out.
She might come back and eat that food and start turning into a giant insect herself.
She
like
might.
Jeff Goldblum in The Fly.
Well... If it helps her career like it helped Jeff Goldblum's career, then maybe it was for the best.
See, that's such a wide range of calls that you experience just by being campus security.
Yeah, I mean,
I would have never thought, but too expansive of a bug bomb would be a call that you'd get.
I mean, we get calls. One of the things that I think that campus security or even law enforcement deals with is if somebody doesn't know exactly what to do, that's usually who you call. If you think something's wrong but you're not sure, you call the police department, non-emergency, or you call 911 for us on campus. If somebody's not sure what they should do, like if they find somebody's stuff and they want to turn it in but they're not sure where, even though we do take it, they'll call us and say, hey, I found this, where do I turn it in at? Or if they're not sure whether they can, have a pet in the dorms or something, they'll call us, even though that's a housing thing. So, yeah, we're basically a catch-all.
Right.
They call us for anything, and then obviously we're around patrolling and trying to make sure that nobody's theft isn't occurring and assaults and stuff like that. So nobody's jumping off of the building after finals, jumping off the top of the library.
Did you notice the surge in calls leading up towards finals week of this semester or last semester?
I actually expected to, but I don't think so. Not yet. Maybe when I go back on Tuesday. Because now that finals are over, because that's one thing is sometimes if a student doesn't do too well, they'll kind of drop off the planet. They'll stop, they'll kind of withdraw a little bit if they didn't do very well, and then parents and stuff will get nervous.
And they call you.
And they call us to check on them. And
you go do like a wellness check? Yeah,
we go and check on them, make sure they're all right. So sometimes it happens, Anybody listening, if you're going to college, let your parents know you're alive every couple of days.
Or a friend
they get worried.
Or someone.
Yeah, people get worried. You gotta stay in contact with somebody.
Sometimes I do interviews at people's homes for the show, and I've started I send 2 different people on purpose the address for where I'm going, just in case. And I say, if you don't hear from me in 2 hours, then you know where I'm at.
Oh, that's a good idea. My phone, actually, I got a Galaxy Note 9. Mm-hmm. I said I wasn't going to get a nice fancy phone, but I did anyways. It actually has a function where if you you can set the lock button to where if you hit it 3 times, it will record audio and take pictures with the front and back camera and send them till I've got like 3 or 4 people on a contact list that it sends that information to.
That's crazy.
It's like the SOS function or something. I think you're on it, actually.
Dang. Well, what happens if it's an emergency that you didn't see coming and you don't have time to click,
No, you're screwed.
Right.
I guess.
And that's what I was thinking. Like, of course you could use a cell phone, but what happens in some scenario that I wouldn't even be able to get a call out or a text and say, like, help, or I couldn't even dial 911 and just set the phone down?
That's definitely a good idea to let people know where you're going to be.
Last night, we were in downtown Tulsa, and we were riding around on these electric Lime scooters, which I didn't know were such a hot buzz topic until you mentioned last night that they're being banned some places. And this has been huge news here in the Tulsa area lately that we got them like a week or 2 ago. Have you seen a lot of them roaming around campus?
Oh, yeah. The students love them.
I would too. I can imagine.
I would use them too. I haven't in uniform, obviously. It's probably not very professional.
Right.
But
hey, you over there. And you go catch them on your Lime scooter.
There have been some issues with people not being very safe with them and crashing them or crashing them into things. We've dealt with that a little bit, but I personally don't think it's that big of a deal. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't see why people are... I'm pretty sure OSU, Oklahoma State University, that is, banned Lime scooters on its campus.
I just can't believe
because
that.
They're worried about liability issues with people wrecking them, and I guess maybe they think that if somebody wrecks one on campus, they'll get sued. I mean, I don't know. I think it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, you're an adult.
Man, if
it's
someone
college, you're supposed to be experimenting with different things like
hallucinogens.
Yeah, crystal meth.
That's right. And Lime scooters.
And Lime scooters, yeah.
If someone got into a car accident on campus, it's gonna be an insurance company claim. They're not gonna sue Tulsa
Exactly.
University.
They're not banning cars.
Right.
So I don't know. I think it's kind of ridiculous. Tulsa TU hasn't banned them. I don't see a ban in the future. Nothing. Something pretty serious would have to happen. They'd have to run over President Clancy's dog or something with a lime scooter, and we might be talking.
Well, it'd be so perfect. Like, on most days I'd probably walk, but if the weather was crappy, or if I was like, oh my god, I'm late, I would hunt for a lime scooter, hop on it, ding, access, boom, take off, and get to class on time.
If I was a student at a university, yeah, I would never drive, especially if there were lime scooters.
Yeah.
Even if it's cold. You just get on the lime scooter. It doesn't take you very long. They go like 15 miles an hour.
I was surprised how fast they went.
They go pretty quick, so you can get, even if you live on a big campus, you can get anywhere pretty quick.
The thing that was crazy to me is that when we hopped on it, we had to immediately enter the street because you have to use them on the roads. And it's kind of intimidating. I mean, I ride my bicycle around Greeley in traffic, and I don't know. I guess the scooter is the same thing, but it just felt so strange. We didn't have helmets on. It was nighttime.
It's basically like walking in the middle of the street, kind of, except you're not walking.
Yeah, maybe we had a drink, and it was just surreal to be, flooring this electric scooter that made absolutely zero noise.
Oh, yeah.
And we are operating in downtown Tulsa traffic, and no bad incidences occurred.
Actually, when we were at the first shop, when I went outside to have a cigar, a couple of the people out there were like, oh, I hate these lime scooters. People are always in my way and going too slow. And I was like, welcome to the 21st century. It's like,
hipster takeover,
get over
man.
yourself.
Progress as promised.
Yeah, exactly.
You should get on the lime scooter craze, or find another place to go, because I don't see lime scooters going away anytime soon. I lived in Aurora.
Do they have lime scooters in Greeley?
So they have lime bikes in Denver. So it's the same
Bikes.
exact system.
Oh, it's like the This Machine.
It's the same exact app.
Okay.
Before coming to TU Security, you worked a similar position at a hospital here in a suburb called Owasso outside of Tulsa, right?
That's right.
And how was that compared to where you're at now? Just the environment of working security for a hospital versus a college campus.
I like TU much better. Okay. Actually, about 1,000 times better.
Okay.
A lot of it is the atmosphere. I like the atmosphere of the university. I mean, the students, the faculty, and everybody who's working there, it's laid back. It feels more like an effort where everybody's trying to help each other towards a goal. As opposed to the hospital, it's a lot more, everything's more segmented department-wise, I felt like. And also, nobody wants to be at a hospital. Hospitals are depressing. I mean, you got people who are sick and injured and old. And
I would think the cases that you got called for at the hospital are way more intense and a totally different gambit of scenarios than you might respond to at a campus.
It depends. It's different. Obviously, at the hospital, maybe not obviously. Obviously to you, since you know my background.
Right, but to a lot of people, they have no idea what kind of calls a security officer might respond to in a hospital. I mean, before
at a hospital,
hearing
it's a lot
your stories, I never knew.
Hospitals have to deal with a lot of drug addicts, people who are drunk, people who are, mentally ill. You have a lot of people there who are hurt, but they also have a mental illness, or they're hurt and they're also drunk, or they're just really drunk, or they're just backed out on drugs. So you have a potentially dangerous atmosphere for nurses and doctors who are trying to help them. A lot of the times hospitals get the brunt of that, and so that security has to deal with that. I mean, you can't have people punching nurses, and some people come in there and they'll start getting help, but then they'll think that the doctors are trying to experiment on them or something.
They'll get paranoid,
and they'll get paranoid, and then they'll want to fight. I mean, if I thought somebody was trying to hurt me, I would want to fight them for sure.
Inject me and make me Wolverine.
Yeah, I'd fight them too.
What animal calls do you all handle at TU, or that you've experienced in the last year?
Oh, God.
I'm trying to wonder what kind of critters end up coming across your campus.
Dogs, of course, because there's neighborhoods all around the university, and people on campus have pets. I don't know. In the apartments, I'm not sure. I know you're not supposed to have pets in the dorms. I think you can in the apartments. Mm-hmm. Maybe you have to pay a deposit. I'm not sure. Dog calls, basically. Usually it's like a dog's running around and everybody's worried about it.
Well, how cute it is, or that it's rabid, or?
No, it's just running around and people are worried it's going to get hit by a car or something. There's not a whole lot we can do a lot of the time because we don't have anywhere to put the dog, and animal control typically is not very keen because I'm sure Tulsa shelters, like shelters all over the country, they're always full.
Yeah. But y'all would call animal control for any
See if they'll come and pick it up.
Any like raccoons or...
Oh, there's raccoons that, raid the dumpsters, but nobody really
worries about
calls
them?
it. Yeah, they're pretty sneaky. I mean, if they see people, they're usually pretty good about getting away. Possums. Well, there's cats on campus. There's a ton of cats on campus, but the students love them. They feed them, and they make little box houses for them and put them in the shrubbery at the library.
Oh, really?
There's a little cat village in the in all of the bushes at McFarland Library. So there's little. They make these little cardboard boxes with blankets and stuff or straw or something in them. And so, at night, I would walk through there, and I'd hear, a bunch of rustling, and it was a bunch of cats running through the bushes, basically. It's pretty cool.
That is very cool. I do like that. That's neat. I'm glad that nobody messes with these boxes and takes them out. It's like this little cat sanctuary by the library. At the same time, I feel like one of these days, you're going to walk by that sanctuary, you're going to hear rustling, and a person's going to fly out of there.
Maybe. I mean, the bushes are only about 2 feet tall, so if a person was going to be in them, they had to be laying down in the bushes.
That's right.
And they'd have to be, the cats probably would have something to say about that.
Come out looking like a human-sized cat.
Sometimes
someone who decided to live off the grid and be a cat.
Oh my, now you got me. I'm going to be searching through those bushes now every day.
You never know. You never know what you're going to find. I mean, you worked security in a hospital. I'm sure you saw some things. I mean, in all of your time as a security officer, did you see and experience things that you weren't ready for or that kind of shocked you?
Oh, yeah. Plenty of times.
Yeah.
There was one time when a guy got brought into the ER, and I don't remember, it was for anxiety or something, and they called because they said he was getting a little rambunctious, and so I went back there, and he was walking down the hallway towards one of the exits, and so I started following him, and he's an adult, so, the only information I had that he was an adult white male. I didn't have any reason to basically detain him or stop him, and he was walking out, and a nurse stepped in front of him, which was a bad idea because we didn't have any reason to hold him, and she was like, no, you can't leave, and he basically threw her out of the way, and so I was like, okay, so he assaulted a nurse. So I went up and grabbed him and threw him on the ground, and when I got on top of him, I realized that he was severely mentally handicapped, and he was afraid. He was really afraid because when I threw him on the ground and he saw that somebody was on top of him, it was terror. And I felt really bad because obviously I didn't know. I thought that it was just some asshole that threw a nurse out of the way, and I was about to send him to call the police and have them do a felony battery on a healthcare employee. But he was just some severely mentally challenged kid who was 30-something. His mom brought him in because he was having issues. I think they just switched his medication or something.
Dang.
And so I felt bad about it.
That's
but
tough.
then he was fine. I didn't hurt him or anything. He didn't really fight me, so when I took him down, it was pretty light. So
being in that environment, responding to calls to an ER, you never know what you're.
Nope.
And would you take the elevator up?
The ER was on the first floor.
Okay.
And our office was real close to it, so it wasn't very far.
It might have been on purpose, huh?
What, the office?
Your location, right?
Yeah, yeah. They when they designed the building, they put security there near the ER for that reason.
That's where most of your calls are.
That's where most of our calls are. Originate.
Not to put you on the spot, but on the flip side of between both jobs, I'm sure this type of position gives you so many stories that they run together over time, and they just kind of come out, naturally when over a beer or in a conversation that reminds you of one. But to cherry pick, do you have a funny favorite story or one an event that you always tell that comes to mind when you get to talking about work?
For the hospital or for
either one? Just
there was at the hospital one time, and I can't give too much. I don't want to violate HIP or anything.
No.
Was a person, I'll just say, who was on drugs and was naked, running around the Waffle House parking lot in Owasso. And
things like this typically happen outside of Waffle Houses.
In my experience, Waffle Houses are,
especially after about 10 p.m.
Yeah, this was in the middle of the night, 11 or 12 o'clock.
Right.
So the police obviously went, and they brought him to the hospital because he was on meth or something. I mean, he was whacked out of his mind, and he was super strong. And they brought him in, and he was strapped face down to a backboard. And I don't know if everybody knows what a backboard, but a backboard is a long, hard plastic, basically.
It's what people get, like, held up and put onto a gurney.
When you put somebody on a gurney after they've had, like, a bad car accident, you do that because the backboard doesn't move. It's supposed to immobilize your spine and everything.
Okay.
And so they had him strapped face down to the backboard because they couldn't, like, control him. So they just strapped him down. And a backboard is pretty hard. I mean, it's not flexible. It's not supposed to be flexible. This guy was bending it by, like, basically trying to wiggle
With
out
his
of
face.
out of the restraints. Yeah, he was bending it. And I was like, if this guy gets loose, it was going to take...
Hulk smash.
There was like 6 cops there and me. So it was like, yeah, if this guy gets loose, it's going to take all of us to basically strap him back down.
Yeah. And that is, like, up there for you just because of how crazy it was to see him bending.
He was screaming, acid trip, like over and over again.
So there was no question what he was experiencing.
I don't think he was on acid. I've never seen anyone on acid get superhuman strength and freak out like that.
Do you think it was meth?
I think it was meth or
but
something
he's just
else.
saying the
K2
phrase.
maybe? I don't know. K2 makes people get real weird. I would definitely advise people against using K2. I know it's supposed to mimic marijuana, but don't use K2. It can freak you out, give you seizures.
For those who don't know, K2 is synthetic marijuana. It's supposed to mirror the effects, but it's fake.
Yeah, it's all chemical compounds. So it's a synthetic drug.
Yeah.
So
it's like smoking Clorox.
They just come up with they've tried in Britain, I know they tried to, because it's called spice as well. They've tried to outlaw it, but technically you can only outlaw the specific chemical composition. So they outlaw one and they just alter the chemical composition a little bit and, a little bit of a different recipe. And they just keep doing that. So it's basically impossible to outlaw. And I don't know if they have them at gas stations and places like, places where you can get, bongs and pipes in states where marijuana is still illegal. Paraphernalia shops, which are for tobacco.
That's right.
Purposes.
Glass,
you can also get spice
containers.
there. I would highly advise against using it, though. It's really bad for you, typically. Some people have seizures. There's a person that got brought into the ER all the time when I worked there who would do K2 and then something bad would happen. He would freak out or something and get brought in, and then he'd go home and they would use it again. And I was like, why do you keep using this, dude? Go get some weed. Just go get some regular weed. If that's what you're looking for. If you're looking for those effects, then get some freaking regular weed.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but if I did a substance and I landed in the hospital for it, no more. Never again.
I don't think so. Yeah.
But that's the power of addiction, maybe.
Maybe. There's people always trying to escape the reality, but...
We're trying to charge head first into it. That's right.
Yeah, definitely.
Grab it by the horns. Well, thank you, Kody. It was a pleasure. I feel like we've only scratched the top of a very deep iceberg for the stories you have, and maybe you will have some more that we could talk about on a future episode. So thank you for your time today.
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks for having me.
Hopefully people are inspired, and thank your campus security, everyone out there at CU, CSU, UNC, Front Range, Ames, and any other college in Northern Colorado I may have forgotten.
Is that it?
I was going to see if you said anything.
I don't have anything else to say.
Any parting words? Nice.
No, not really.
There it is.
I could have a lot of parting words, but probably should hold off. Caitlin's over here like, oh my god, what is he going to say?
Do you also enjoy the music used here at the More You NoCo? I want to shout out my good friend Russell Isaac Long for always giving us those hot fire tracks. Are you looking for a little bit of bonus content in addition to the episodes of the More You NoCo? Check us out on Facebook or Instagram at the More You NoCo. Original, right? Don't worry, we'll be back soon. Until next time, peace!